Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Makai-World Reviews with your host, the master of minds and of men himself, the Tony Makai. After the exciting, horrific, and sometimes tepid Simpsons Treehouse of Horror reviews, we're moving into something a little more confined. As the month of November, I look at prison movies, and this will range quite a bit. In fact, one of them is arguably not a prison movie, but we kick things off with an absolute classic today in Cool Hand Luke. I am happy to be back, and I know you are happy to have me. So hit that subscribe button, and let's get to digging some ditches. Cool Hand Luke, directed by Stuart Rosenberg, well known for not only this and the Amityville Horror, but teaching other directors such as Darren Aronofsky and Mark Waters. It's based on Dawn Pierce's books. The screenplay was based on that, with help from Frank R. Pearson. Frank was probably most well known for writing with others, and directing the '76 movie A Star is Born, as well as writing Dog Day Afternoon, starring Paul Newman, legendary square-jawed actor known for movies like The Sting, The Towering Inferno, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and so much more, having a long and storied career, and still ongoing despite his death thanks to Disney's machinations. And George Kennedy, Carter McKay himself, known by me for the Naked Gun show and movies, Creepshow 2, and of course, The Dirty Dozen. A good hand to have on any film. Release date for this was October 31st, 1967, strange movie for Halloween. And what came out the same week? Night Fright, also known as, in the UK, ETN, which stands for Extraterrestrial Nasty. Yeah, about a radioactive animal killing people in Texas. Guess it's better than the pigs that do that now. And Theater of Death, a much better Christopher Lee vehicle, though still essentially paint by the numbers. But if for some reason your choice is this or Night Fright, pick this one. Going to the plot, we meet the aforementioned Luke, whose hand seems rather normal, taking the heads off of parking meters for some reason. This lands him in a hard labor jail, gotta love the South, and it's as much fun as you might imagine, with these men working long, hard hours in the hot sun. Along with the various bosses who run the place and the prisoners who populate it, we meet Dragline, unofficial head of the prisoners, and will be Luke's bosom chum. Luke not only acclimates, he becomes something of an inspiration to the men for some of the following reasons. He loses to Dragline in a boxing match, but goddamn does he go down fighting. He beats a number of the boys at poker, all on a bluff. He inspires the boys to complete a job of covering a newly tarred road in record time, so they can relax. And of course the famous egg situation, where there is a big bet if Luke can eat 50 hard-boiled eggs or not. And after a training montage, he does, though not without some major assistance from Dragline and co. Luke's boldness grows the ire of the bosses, but it's after his mother's death things go from bad to worse, as he is stuck in the box until after her funeral. The box, a cramped, hot, small room, you can do little else but stand. This causes Luke to make his first escape attempt, where he is captured not too long after and fitted with leg shackles as punishment. But these hardly hinder the man's spirit, and Luke escapes again, this time for a bit longer. He even sends a magazine with a picture of him partying with some fancy ladies to Dragline. But this turns out to be a fake, which we'll have some questions about later. But Luke is brought back, and well, things get pretty ugly from here. The bosses torture him, taunt him. He's put in the box regularly. He's made to dig a ditch, fill it in, dig it, fill it in. He's overworked, underslept. He's broken. He finally, at long last, submits. Becomes a lackey for the bosses. And the boy's spirit is broken as well. But of course, this is a clever ruse, as Luke steals a truck when out on a job, escaping with Dragline, and separates some time later, with Luke ending up in an old church where he asks God for a sign. Well, he gets it, as the cops and the bosses show up not long after, and after some taunting, Luke is shot. The bosses refuse to take him to the local hospital, and Luke seemingly dies. Dragline, now in shackles as well, tells the tale of Cool Hand Luke to the boys, as a sign of hope. I want to say, if you've not seen this movie, please do. I think very highly of it. So let's talk about the parts of it. Directing and cinematography, this is a very basic movie. I mean that in the best possible way. It didn't go for a lot of experimental things. It didn't have a particularly wide variety of places. It didn't do a lot, but in its simplicity it was genius. Its editing wasn't perfect. Some of the cuts were a slapdash. That's about as minor of a gripe as I could possibly find. It kept tight on these people, these places, the importance of what we were seeing. It had a grit and straightforward nature to it that exemplified the setting. It didn't have a big budget, didn't really need it. It kept a rigid grip on us, letting us experience the cramped, horrific nature of these men's experience in prison, and it never let up. There's also some strange Jesus imagery laid upon Luke that I felt was inconsistent and oddly put, but I wanted to mention it as part of the cine as it was there. I've seen people make more of this in articles online, but I don't hold much to it and don't really prescribe to the idea of Luke as a Jesus. But despite the moderate strength of the directing, this movie it's 100% about the actors, or actor in this case. That actor is Paul Newman. This movie has some great actors such as Lynch alumni Harry Dean Stanton and Dennis Hopper. And all of the ancillary characters give just fine, competent or more so performances, but it's Newman who stands head and shoulders above everyone. He gives Luke a lot of gravitas. He's not just some hothead. He's a complicated, a man of action, a man who says he's never had a plan in his life. He just does things. He's taken on a whim and air. He's strong, but he's not strong enough to not be beaten. He's smart, but he's not above being outwitted. He's jack of all trades, master of none. He's too proud, too confident, but in his weak moments he has God to send him a sign. He has a tense but loving relationship with his mother, and her passing shows him he has little left to worry about. The slow burn of watching this proud man be broken by the system, how it can take the spirit of a person and shatter it via the violence that the abuses of the law allows, is genuinely heartbreaking. We see it in how our authority treats its people all around the world. The famous line here, what we got here is a failure to communicate. It's telling of what authority wants from you, communication on their terms, for you to listen and respect them because of the nature of their position. But you are nothing, a plebe, a commoner, a lowly. Luke rebelled against all of it, in every form, in every position, from the military to society to the law, and in the end it killed him. That smile he gave before they shot him, that final rebellion, is something that will stick with you for a long time, as it stuck with me. Paul, you were amazing in this. Thank you. I also want to say Dragline and Luke's relationship is really sincere. It's almost cute. He calls Luke all kinds of pet names. He thinks highly of him. He supports him. He eggs him on, quite literally. He beats him up. I don't know, if you it felt like a real male relationship to me, one that I've had with friends, one that I understand and sincerely appreciate. I do wonder, what's with the picture, though? Was it an old picture, him and the two broads? How was it made? How did it get in a magazine? How did Luke get it there? I really understand, and I couldn't find much discourse about its nature online, save for the fact it did foreshadow the ending, with an advertisement next to it being about a rifle pointing straight at Luke. But does anyone have any real idea about it? Let me know down below. Luke says it's fake, but how that doesn't really add up. As far as the music goes, music is an odd mix. By that I mean it sometimes sounds like the beginning of a country song. Other times it's ripped out of like the first Mad Max. We do get Harry Dean Stanton singing a number of songs, which I appreciate. The music is paced appropriately. Its timing is well done. We find out Luke's mom dies. The music stops, only for him to play his banjo, and that was great. It's just an odd mix. I'm never sure how to feel about it, no matter how many times I see this movie. Overall, it's an exceptional film. I always think going into it, it's a little long, but after watching it, I never feel that way. It's truly an American classic and is remembered as such for that reason. It's a great bro film. Not that I think it can't be enjoyed by anyone of any gender. This movie has a lot of man moments that I think guys together will particularly appreciate. Paul Newman proves himself to be an actor who can carry a whole film on his back and pull it off without batting an eye. He's a legend in a lot of ways. And Cool Hand Luke is one of those ways. An absolute recommendation for anyone who enjoys cinema, and I think in this world of horrible cop body cam videos, it's also just as relevant. Well, everyone, that was Cool Hand Luke, a superb film, and a great way to begin what I guess is prison month here on Makai-World Reviews. Don't forget to subscribe. Head over to my Patreon where you can support this channel for as little as $1. That's 100 pennies. Check out my podcast, the Dark Peaks Podcast. Add me on Instagram under Demon Peaks for Twin Peaks memes. And be back next week for Con Air. And of course, finally, have a great day, a great week. And thank you so much for being here with me, the Eternal Makai, Master of Minds and of Men. Goodbye.